Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Wonderful to be with you. I'll just give a moment as people come in from the waiting room. And hopefully you have brought your own tea or other beverage of choice. You could put in the chat where you're joining us from and what your beverage is. That's always fun to hear. And let me just pull this up here. So if you're new, I'm Christine Valters Painter, and I'm here in the west of Ireland, joining you for this. And it's been a beautiful few days here. It's very, very sunny and warm. If you like warm, sunny weather, you should head on over to Ireland right now. And because it's quite unusual for us to have this much warm, sunny weather all in a row. I have iced coffee because it's so warm here. So that's my beverage. So we'll get started here in just a moment. And yeah, let us know too if you're new to our community. You'd be very, very welcome here. Oh, I see another person from Ireland. Lovely. Sherry. North Wales, North Carolina, Maine, Illinois, Missouri, of course, North Carolina, where Melinda is, Colorado. Beautiful. June's in Winkler, Manitoba. Lovely. All right. Colorado, Seattle, San Francisco. Beautiful. All right, my friends. So our time together today will be, as usual, a bit of meditation time, a bit of sharing our programs that are coming up, and some time for questions or comments or other kinds of input or sharing that you want to offer. A very special welcome to Andrea, who just said it's your first event. That's wonderful to have you here, Andrea. And of course, very warm welcome to all of our regular dancing monks as well. Oh, I see South Africa and Edinburgh and Scotland as well. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, and Kim just returned from Connemara. Wonderful. That's one of my very favorite places. If you haven't been to Ireland, Connemara is the region just to the west of Galway City where I live, about a half-hour drive to the start of it. And it's a beautiful region of granite mountains covered with bog and heather, and kind of a lot of the days are very misty, and that very sort of iconic image that you might get of Ireland or even Scotland. Scotland has a similar landscape in parts of it, lots of lakes. So it's really wonderful to be with you as always. This is going to be our last Tea with the Abbess until the fall, so because we always take a break in the summer from programs and from our newsletter to have a little bit of time to reflect, to rest, to renew and restore ourselves. But we do have some lovely things in store for you this June, and I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. But we are gonna go through a little practice of Lectio Divina here in a moment. And Lectio Divina is, of course, a practice of sacred reading. Lectio Divina means sacred reading. And if you're not familiar with Lectio Divina, I will guide you through it. But essentially, it's a way of listening to a text for a word that shimmers and letting that word or phrase unfold in your heart. And then listening for the invitation and then resting in some silence. And it's a beautiful way of practicing the contemplative way in a very sort of concrete way, instead of sitting in silence, which is also very rich and nourishing, but it gives our mind sort of something to work with a little bit as we're resting into the stillness. And it's a way of honoring and recognizing the way the sacred can speak to us really through any text at any moment in our lives. And we're going to be working with a poem that I wrote called St. Kevin and the Otters, which I'll bring up here in a moment. And the part of the reason we're inviting you into this Lexio practice is we're doing a retreat tomorrow on St. Kevin and the Celtic spirituality of creation and the natural world. And I'm going to be joined by Simon Devoyle, who I know many of you know and love, our wonderful musician and minister friend, and Kenneth Stephen, who is a wonderful poet from Scotland. So I'll be joined by two wonderful Scotsmen, and I'll be here in Ireland, although Simon will be in Vermont. And the retreat is part of our Mystical Heart series, and we're coming to the close of it. It's the last retreat in that series, but you can also participate in at any of those sessions singly. But it really, this retreat is in part a chance again to share my absolute love and passion for Celtic spirituality, in particular Celtic Christianity, and the way that this tradition has kind of evolved from the pre-Christian tradition that preceded it. There's a lot of kind of a renewal and deepening of interest in Celtic Christianity at this point in time, and I think it has a lot to do with our longing to reconnect to nature, to find a spiritual practice and set of teachings and wisdom tradition that really honors and cherishes nature as a teacher, as a wisdom teacher, as a source of revelation. And of course, being in the midst of a climate crisis, finding ways that our contemplative path can reconnect us and deepen our intimacy and our cherishing of the natural world, because that in itself will have an impact on how we live and how we interact with the world. So Celtic Christianity is one wisdom path to explore. And I've lived in Ireland now for 10 years, and it's been an amazing journey. And there's so many things about living here that I love, one of which is the landscape. As I mentioned, Connemara, there's also the Burren, which is the limestone landscape to the south of us. There's also, lots of other regions, of course, the whole coast, of being on an island. But what I think really speaks to me here is how much the landscape, there are stories that are embedded in the land. And so every place name, if you look at the Irish name for it, speaks to a connection to a saint or to one of the Irish mythic stories. And a lot of the anglicized names don't really give us that richness, that you have to dig a little bit more. But, within an hour's drive of Galway, there are dozens of sacred sites, of monastic ruins, of stone circles, of forts, of, so both Christian and pre-Christian monuments. It's a place rich with stories and wisdom. And then, of course, there's also this, it's the land of saints and scholars is what it's been called. And there are so many incredibly enlivening and deeply connecting stories around the saints that lived here, the men and women who lived this contemplative path, most of whom had some sort of kinship with the animal world. And that's another one of the kind of lines that threads through the Christian tradition here and the pre-Christian that came before it, the Druidic and the pagan tradition, or what some people here would call the Irish indigenous tradition. So that sense of deep kinship and intimacy with the animal world is something that speaks very dearly to my heart. And I know those of you with companion animals or with birds in your backyard, or, who like to go to the woods, or, that I'm sure you have that sense too of how animals have a lot more wisdom to offer us than what some people might think. And so the story of Kevin, there's lots of stories about Kevin connecting him to animals, but this one that I'm going to share the poem about is about his friendship with an otter. And if I were to die and to be reincarnated as an animal, which in the Inuit tradition in Canada, there's a belief system that that's what happens. And what I love is that the Inuits carve these animal carvings of animals that are dancing. And they're dancing because they are so happy to have been reincarnated into a higher form of existence, which is from human into animal. And then apparently the polar bear is the king of the animal world. So the polar bears are like the highest form of existence. So anyway, if I were to be reincarnated, I would love to become back as an otter. So true story here. And I just have such an affection for their playfulness. So with all of that kind of as a precursor, I just wanted to sort of set the scene for my invitation to you now to move into this poem, which is really just a poetic retelling of this story of Kevin and his otter friend, who would bring him salmon from the lake there where he lived in Glendalough, would bring him salmon to help nourish him. And there are many different kinds of stories like that, but I wanted to bring this one to us today and to see where this saint and where this animal wisdom figure, how they are resonating with your heart today. So we're going to take a couple of nice deep breaths to begin to transition into our time of turning inward and listening deeply with the ears of the heart. So as you take a couple of nice deep breaths, imagine that your awareness is moving down into your heart center and taking some nice deep breaths there, and maybe a couple of nice deep sighs, just letting go of anything that we don't need. I think sighing is just very pleasurable. Just releasing and letting go and sinking more deeply into this moment and resting for a moment in the arms of the beloved who dwells with you there in your heart center, in your heart space, the sanctuary of the heart. And then inviting this attention with the ears of the heart and the eyes of the heart to this story, and to imagine yourself in this place of encounter with Saint Kevin and the otter. And let this poem be sort of a scaffolding for your own imagining. And as I read the poem through the first time, listen for a word or a phrase that shimmers for you or calls to you in some way. The saint rises early to sing the sun aloft, watch sky drip pink paint. Birds tweet psalms with him, trees tremble the refrain. Otters glide through the lake, slip smoothly onto shore, salmon in their mouths, a gift for the monk. Each day they feast together, on wisdom together, saint and swimmers. Each night they dream salmon dreams of slicing upstream, scanning with silver eyes, like coins at the bottom of the well, wishes waiting for a future moment when, hungry again for kinship, they light the fire to warm and transform, sit together and be nourished for the many cold days ahead. So just holding that, whatever that word or phrase is in your heart for a moment, letting it echo within you. And then listening again. The saint rises early to sing the sun aloft, watch sky drip pink paint. Birds tweet psalms with him, trees tremble the refrain. Otters glide through the lake, slip smoothly onto shore, salmon in their mouths, a gift for the monk. Each day they feast on wisdom together, saint and swimmers. Each night they dream, salmon dreams of slicing upstream, scanning with silver eyes like coins at the bottom of the well, wishes waiting for a future moment. When hungry again for kinship, they light the fire to warm and transform, sit together and be nourished for the many cold days ahead. So listening now, letting that word or phrase unfold in your imagination. So opening to images, to feelings, to memories, just letting that, letting there be a welcoming space in you for whatever wants to unfold. And then listening to the text one more time. The saint rises early to sing the sun aloft, watch sky drip pink paint. Birds tweet psalms with him, trees tremble the refrain. Otters glide through the lake, slip smoothly onto shore, salmon in their mouths, a gift for the monk. Each day they feast on wisdom together, saint and swimmers. Each night they dream, salmon dreams of slicing upstream, scanning with silver eyes like coins at the bottom of the well, wishes waiting for a future moment. When hungry again for kinship, they light the fire to warm and transform, sit together and be nourished for the many cold days ahead. So we'll take a couple more minutes in the silence to listen now for any sense of invitation that's arising. Are you being called to some kind of new awareness? Just being open to whatever comes. And then taking a couple more nice deep breaths and just letting go of words and images for a few moments and simply resting into the silence. And then taking 3 really nice, slow, deep breaths. I invite you to take a couple of minutes now to just reflect on what you have heard or seen in your imagination. So you might take a moment to journal, to write down anything you want to remember, or simply rest in the quiet for a moment to really honor what has come through in the prayer. And then if you'd like to put an image in the chat or the word or phrase or an invitation that came to you, you'd be most welcome. It'd be lovely to share together what's arising in our shared prayer together. And I'll read some of those out loud here in a moment. Let's see. Roger says, Glendalough is one of my favorite places in Ireland, absolutely beautiful and a very thin place. It is just a stunning, sacred location. I'm excited to, as part of the retreat tomorrow, I have a little 5-minute video of some of the scenery there, just to give people a sense of what it's like to rest into that beautiful valley. I love birds, tweet psalms. Yeah, I love that sense that because the psalms talk about this, that the birds are essentially like the original worship, right? They're already singing. Hildegard talks about, the choirs of angels are already singing that original liturgy, and I think the birds are joining in with them. And then we realize we're called to that too, so that the birds can kind of help guide us. Drip pink paint. They feast on wisdom together to sing the sun aloft, hungry again for kinship, to sing the sun aloft, aspirational. That first line, the saint rises early to sing the sun aloft, along with each night they dream salmon dreams. I continue reading Sacred Time and recently have started the practice of 4 daily pauses, dawn, day, dusk, dark, and focusing on the gentle movement and rhythm of each day and night into tomorrow. That's lovely to hear, Jenny. Thank you for that. Each day they feast on wisdom together. They light the fire, sing the sun aloft, a reminder of the joy of rising early. My favorite time of day is early. This is the time when the birds tweet songs and the quiet of the day brings forth the wisdom and animal life of deer and beavers are out at the park I walk daily. That sounds really magical. Sit together and be nourished, an invitation and instruction from my heart. The bird songs always remind me of God's glory and remind me to be still. Hungry for kinship. Quaking aspens, trees trembling, the refrain. That's a lovely parallel there. Also, the image of the otter with his little paws is priceless. They are pretty adorable. I don't get enough of otters. Feasting on wisdom together, moved to sitting together to be nourished. Hungry again for kinship. It's a hungry time right now. Yes, absolutely, indeed. Hungry again for kinship, a lifelong invite to connect with others, especially the trees in the forest in the back of my house. Yes, we have this whole wide community waiting to welcome us. Feasting of wisdom is so inspiring and awakens curiosity. Sit together and be nourished, a reminder to reconnect after the lockdowns of the pandemic. When hungry again for the kinship whispers to me deeply. Those are so beautiful. Thank you, my friends. I really appreciate you for sharing some of what shimmered in your heart in that prayer. And there's always a sense for me of kind of reading this litany of sort of communal litany that we write together and sharing those little pieces of wisdom and images that are touching our hearts. That's really wonderful. Well, feel free to share any other images that come to you. And I'm going to share a couple of things that are coming up this month. If I just get my screen up here again. Really wonderful. There we go. So our Lift Every Voice book club is one of the great joys of my life these days. I've been doing it for the last 2.5 years with Claudia Lovemeyer. She's just a dear friend now, and my heart has continued to be expanded in so many ways. And our book club, our featured book for June is The Practice of Presence by Carmen Acevedo Butcher. Carmen, if I know some of you would be familiar with her work, she does translations of a lot of the mystical texts. She did one of the Cloud of Unknowing. She did one of Hildegard of Bingen. She has a wonderful book that I think might be out of print now called Incandescence, which is the daily readings from the women mystics. But this is a really delightful book because Brother Lawrence was in the 17th century in France and was such a humble monk and had this really simple practice of simply connecting to the divine in everything that he did. And he was the cook in the kitchen, and he had to cook for, I don't know, hundreds of monks. And he really hated kitchen work when he first started, but it soon became for him the portal into this deepening prayer, into this sense of intimacy and the sacredness of the ordinary. So it's a wonderful book, and you can look up on our website and click on the book club page, and there's a video conversation that Claudia Love and I had with Carmen, and it was really a delight to do that. So I encourage you to read her book and to listen to the podcast and deepen into that wisdom. Carmen's also going to be doing a retreat for us in August on the Cloud of Unknowing, so that'll be great to have her. We have our regular monthly events for June. So on Monday, we have a contemplative prayer service that Simon and I lead every month. And this month we are joined by Alana Lewandowski, who I know some of you will know also. She's an amazing singer and songwriter. So we are delighted to have Alana joining us, and that will be our last prayer service until October. So there'll be a little bit of a break. So you're very warmly welcomed to come and join us for that. It's a lovely time of music and some prayer and reflection and some sitting in silence together. So it's always a rich time. Simon will be offering his sacred chant service on Monday, June 12th. And then Therese Taylor Stinson is offering her monthly centering prayer time on June 21st, which is just about the summer solstice. And then Melinda will be offering her yoga practice on June 22nd. So we have some rich offerings for you. Our team with the Abbess will come back in October as well. So we're taking we are going to have some programs in August and September, but just taking a little bit of a breather for a while. In terms of special events, as I mentioned, tomorrow, a retreat on Kevin of Glendalough and the love for creation. So if you enjoyed entering into that meditation with Kevin and the otter, you might consider joining us. The retreats are always recorded if you can't come live, so you'd be most welcome. And we're also having a big self-study summer sale. So if you go to our website and you click on self-study, we have, I think, something like 20 self-study retreats. And so self-study retreats are retreats that you can take at any time, and there's no community forum that's a part of it. So it's on your own pace. And the code there is summer sale 25 for your 25% off. And if you get 2 or more retreats, you can send your address to Melinda and she'll send you a dancing monk medallion as a little extra gift. And then our break from our newsletter and our programming is from the end of June to the beginning of August. It gives us a nice little chance to rest and to renew. And we will have our Sustainer Circle again starting in September. I know many of you are part of that, and we're so grateful for those of you who are able to offer some regular financial support to us. It helps to support our scholarship work and our free resources like our prayer cycle of morning and evening prayers. We have a new prayer cycle coming out starting in October on angels, saints, and ancestors, because my book on that subject is coming out this fall as well. The Cloud of Unknowing, there'll be a 3-hour retreat on August 26th with Carmen. We're really looking forward to that. And then Simon is going to be joined by a friend of his and a scholar named David Wallace. It's called Deep Calls to Deep, and it's a spirituality of the Psalms. So if you'd love to spend 4 weeks with Simon and David, deepening into how the Psalms call us into that greater intimacy with the divine, then you'd be most welcome to join. So those are some of our programs. Come back here and just see. Yeah, okay, Melinda's saying if you get the medallion, send your mailing address to Melinda. And there's her email address. Good. Well, does anybody have any questions or comments or suggestions? This is kind of a little bit of time for just a more casual exchange. If there's anything that you want to ask about, it could be about our programs, but it could be about the Abbey in general. I will share, you can put your question in the chat, or if you want to use the raise hand feature, you could also, I can also pull you up on screen and you could just talk to me like as if we were at tea together. So let's see, June says, anything exciting for you during your break? Well, for me, the most exciting thing will be to just have a couple of months without anything scheduled other than some art. There's a big arts festival that happens in Galway, so we're going to be going to some of that. And I am working on a couple of books. Surprise, surprise. I have a memoir book that I'm working on for Broadleaf, and some of you will remember the Midwinter God program that we've offered here at the Abbey. It's one of our self-studies, and I'm finishing up a book for Abbey Myriad Press for them. So some writing, but it'll be really rich for me to have some time not to be worrying about a schedule or tending to kind of exterior demands, but no real travel or anything. I just kind of want to stay put and stay quiet for a while. Are you planning a new round of the Mystical Heart series? We're not going to do one this coming year. We do have a couple of retreats that are in the same vein, in that in August, Carmen is doing the Cloud of Unknowing, and then let's see, I think in February, Valimar Jansen is doing one on Sister Thea Bowman, who is a Franciscan nun and was an incredibly vibrant presence in one of our dancing months. But we wanted to take a break from that. Just we are going to be doing a monthly mini retreat, but we wanted to take a little bit of a break from having a big program like that. So yeah, let's see. Loving the archetype retreat, so much depth to the retreat will feed me all summer. That's lovely to hear, Caroline. There is a lot of richness to that one. I think most of the self-studies have a lot of richness, but I know that we really laid out a feast with all of our Wisdom Council members who wanted to be a part of that. The archetypes retreat that she's referring to is a retreat that we're in kind of coming to the last week, next week of it. It's on the archetypes of the visionary, the warrior, the healer, and the sage. It will eventually be converted into a self-study program. If you've missed it, you'll be able to register for it. But it's a beautiful time together and diving into those archetypes. The live sessions for the book group, or is it all recordings? That's a great question, Paulette. They're all, so the book group is, the book club, I should say, is, the focus is on contemplative writers of color. And we're really looking to expand our vision and our understanding of what the contemplative tradition is about. And we've been able to talk to some really amazing writers and read some wonderful books. And the way it works essentially at the moment is that every month on the first of the month, except for July, so there won't be one in July, but the first of the month, there is a new book posted and there is a conversation. It's usually about 45 minutes to an hour. It's posted in video format on our website. There's some reflection questions that Claudia Love writes up on there. And there is a Facebook group where we also post those, and you can also sign up for it for the audio podcasts on various places where the audio podcasts live, like Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and all of that. So there aren't any live sessions for that, but there's a lot of ways to engage and deepen into that. So I'd love to have you part of that. And Carolyn says, definitely register if it becomes available. Thanks, Carolyn. That's for the Archetypes Retreat. That's wonderful to hear. I'm very delighted. So are there any other questions or comments? I wanted to share a couple things. You're free to put your questions in the chat. So we're changing a couple of things for next year. We're not going to have as many of the regular monthly programs, because we found that Melinda and I were having to promote a few too many things during every week, and we really wanted to focus our energy a little bit more on a fewer things and really sort of give our full attention to that. So we've cut back a little bit on some of those, but we still have a really rich kind of array of programming coming, and Melinda's working very dutifully right now on getting all those events posted to our calendar. So check our calendar in the next couple of weeks and you'll see them start to appear there. We're going to be adding closed captioning. We have closed captioning always turned on the live Zoom sessions, but we're going to be adding a closed caption option for the recorded videos as well for all future programs. And then we'll slowly try and add them to our past self-study retreats as well, just as a way to make those more accessible to people. And then Simon, I wanted to say too, Simon's going to be continuing his prayer services over the summer on his website. So maybe Melinda, you could put in a link to Simon's website. So if you think, oh no, there's no contemplative prayer service from June all the way to October, you can also find Simon leading actually weekly prayer service over at his website. And so those are really wonderful to join and to participate in. Melinda says, can you speak to the video podcast of the prayer cycle? Thank you for mentioning that too. So if you go to our website and you click on prayer cycle, you will see that we currently have 4 different themes. So there's 4 weeks of morning and evening prayer available. And the Earth as the Original Monastery and the Monk in the World ones both have audio podcasts and video podcasts, which means you can just listen to them, as your audio prayer, but Betsy's also created videos that invite you into some movement prayer as part of it, and some of the video footage is just beautiful scenery to look at, or other kinds of meditative video. Right now, we're releasing the Mary prayer cycle, the Birthing the Holy that we did last year in audio format. Right now, we're releasing the video podcasts, and those will all be out by the end of June. So look for those. And we've had a lot of really wonderful comments on that. If you're either really have a love of the sacred feminine and Mary, or if you're curious and want to perhaps seek a relationship, that would be a beautiful way to do that. And then the Soul of a Pilgrim prayer cycle is still just in audio format, but we'll release the videos for those next spring. Yeah, so that'll be like next year. But this fall, we're going to be releasing the audio of the new one, the Angels, Saints, and Ancestors. So as you see, we have to kind of space things out a little bit just because we have a pretty small team, but we're dedicated and we're passionate. So anyway, that's sort of the overview of where we are with that resource. Jeannie, hi Jeannie, nice to rejoin with you, Christine, after first attending a 9-month art retreat in the 90s with you and Betsy in Tacoma, Washington. Gosh, yes, I remember that very, very well, Jeannie. It's great to have you here. And then, yeah, these prayer cycles are wonderful. I've taken them on walks in the morning as well, and it enhances the walk. That's beautiful. Yeah, I often listen to the prayer cycles either when I'm doing my morning yoga practice, or when I have my very important morning snuggle time with Cerny, who is our dog. First thing in the morning, she just loves to have a little snuggle. So it seems like an appropriate time to be praying very intentionally, because there's a lovely connection to the sacred. Wonderful. And yeah, Melinda mentioned the Sustainer Circle. Yeah, well, I did talk a little bit about that, and that we'll have that coming up probably by the end of this month, but the Sustainer Circle will start officially in September. And that's a great way to support all of the free offerings that we do, including this one, which is a lovely way just to connect with one another for a Friday morning or afternoon tea, depending on whatever time you might be listening to the recording. Do you know the guide to mystic and or spiritual sites to visit in Ireland? Yeah, there are definitely some guides that you could, it depends on where you're going, but we often recommend Pius Murray. Maybe Melinda, you can write Pius's name in the comments, and maybe you already did. Walk with Pius is his website. And Dara Malloy, who's out on the island of Inishmore. Those are some of the, and if you go out to the island of Inishmore, you should also check out Deirdre Nikanadi's her retreat. She has a little retreat center there as well. We can add those links either here or on the webpage later when we have the recording. That would be great. We do like to help support our local guides here, especially since we're not doing our own live pilgrimages anymore, but we are filming a virtual pilgrimage. I think I talked about this a month ago, but we've got 2 more sites to visit this month, and then that virtual pilgrimage will be up next spring. So as you can see, we're always planning quite far ahead to offer you some rich resources. Angelica says, I just love the Abbey. Thank you for all you do. That's really kind of you. Thank you so much for that, Angelica. So lovely. Anything else that anyone wants to ask before I share our closing blessing? I have a little video to share with you. So this video is from our Earth Monastery, Earth as the Original Monastery podcast series. And this is from the day on Earth as the original spiritual directors. And the idea is that the elements, water, wind, earth, and fire, teach us about the spiritual path. And of course, the animals are part of that, to imagine that that we can receive counsel and wisdom from the creative and the natural world. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath and to receive this prayer, this blessing, as we close out our time together.
May everything in creation become a catalyst for your self-understanding. Let the sacred whispers carried on the wind invite you to release what is not necessary. Let the breezes help your wings to ascend, the sparrows to remember your flock. Let the divine fire that burns in your heart kindle you to deeper compassion, sunlight to seek illumination. Let the rivers and seas support you in allowing spirit to flow through your life in new ways, embracing the rise and fall within you. Let the pine cones contain an epiphany. The forest asks you to embrace your truth once again, and each smooth stone a revelation. Let the moon sing of quiet miracles, like those which reveal and conceal the world every day right before your eyes. May you make time to listen to the elements and their wisdom, revealing the Holy One's face in the sacred direction for your one precious life.
So my friends, wonderful gift to be with you during this time. Thank you for all the warm wishes for our summer or quieter summer rhythms. It's really a beautiful gift. If you enjoyed that blessing video, you might want to go check out the prayer cycle page on our website and look up the Earth Monastery prayer cycle, because there's a video for each of the mornings like that is included in the video podcast. So thank you so much, my dear friends. It's really just a delight and a joy to be with you, sending you all kinds of love and blessings from Ireland. I look forward to seeing you at our various programs this month, and again when we return in the fall. So lots of love and see you soon.